Hi, I'm Michael Fiels, Executive Director of the American Library Association. And I'm going to be celebrating the banned book readout by reading a few pages from one of my favorite books, Kurt Vonnegut Jr.'s Slaughterhouse 5. This book has been challenged hundreds of times. For those of you that have never read it, Kurt Vonnegut was a soldier in World War II and was captured and taken prisoner and went to Dresden. And while he was in Dresden, he survived the bombing of that city, which was one of the major bombings of the entire Second World War, and which involved the death of hundreds of thousands of people and no military targets whatsoever. I'm going to start a little bit at the beginning and then end at the end. All this happened more or less. The war parts, anyway, are pretty much true. One guy I knew really was shot in Dresden for taking a teapot that wasn't his. Another guy I knew really did threaten to have his personal enemies killed by hired gunmen after the war, and so on. I've changed all the names. I really did go back to Dresden with Guggenheim money, God love it, in 1967. It looked a lot like Dayton, Ohio. More open spaces than Dayton has. There must be tons of human bone meal in the ground. I went back there with an old war buddy, Bernard V. O'Hare, and we made friends with a cab driver who took us to the slaughterhouse where we had been locked up at night as prisoners of war. His name was Gerhard Miller. He told us he was a prisoner of the Americans for a while. We asked him how it was to live under communism, and he said that it was terrible at first because everybody had to work so hard and because there wasn't much food or shelter or clothing. But things were much better now. He had a pleasant little apartment, and his daughter was getting an excellent education. His mother was incinerated in the Dresden firestorm. So it goes. He sent O'Hare a postcard at Christmas time, and here's what it said. I wish you and your family also, as to your friend, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I hope that we'll meet again in a world of peace and freedom, in the taxicab, if the accident will. I like that very much, if the accident will. I would hate to tell you what this lousy little book cost me in money and anxiety and time. When I got home from the Second World War 23 years ago, I thought it would be easy for me to write about the destruction of Dresden, since all I would have to do is to report what I had seen. And I thought, too, that it would be a masterpiece, or at least make me a lot of money, since the subject was so big. But not many words about Dresden came from my mind then, not enough of them to make a book anyway, and not many words come now either when I've become an old fart with his memories and his Pall Malls and his sons full grown. Robert Kennedy, whose summer home is 8 miles from the home I live in all year round, was shot 2 nights ago. He died last night. So it goes. Martin Luther King was shot a month ago. He died too. So it goes. And every day my government gives me account of corpses created by military science in Vietnam. So it goes. My father died many years ago now of natural causes. So it goes. He was a sweet man. He was a gun nut too. He left me his guns. They rust. On Tralfamadore, says Billy Pilgrim, there isn't much interest in Jesus Christ. The earthling figure who's most engaging to the Tralfamadorian mind, he says, is Charles Darwin, who taught that those who die are meant to die, that corpses are improvements. So it goes. The same general idea appears in The Big Board by Kilgore Trout. The flying saucer creatures who capture Trout's hero ask him about Darwin. They also ask him about golf. If what Billy Pilgrim learned from the Tralfamadorians is true, then we will all live forever, no matter how dead we may sometimes seem to be. I'm not overjoyed. Still, if I'm going to spend eternity visiting this moment and that, I'm grateful that so many of those moments are nice. One of the nicest ones in recent times was on my trip back to Dresden with my old war buddy O'Hare. We took a Hungarian Airlines plane from East Berlin. The pilot had a handlebar mustache. He looked like Adolf Menju. He smoked a Cuban cigar while the plane was being fueled. When we took off, there was no talk of fastening seat belts. When we were up in the air, a young steward served us rye bread and salami and butter and cheese and white wine. The folding tray in front of me would not open out. The steward went into the cockpit for a tool, came back with a beer can opener. He used it to pry out the tray. There were only 6 other passengers. They spoke many languages. They were having nice times too. East Germany was down below and the lights were on. I imagined dropping bombs on those lights, those villages and cities and towns. O'Hare and I had never expected to make any money, and here we were now, extremely well-to-do. "If you're ever in Cody, Wyoming," I said to him lazily, "just ask for Wild Bob." O'Hare had a little notebook with him, and printed in the back of it were postal rates and airline distances and the altitudes of famous mountains and other key facts about the world. He was looking up the population of Dresden, which wasn't in the notebook, when he came across this, which he gave me to read. On an average, 324,000 new babies are born into the world every day. During that same day, 10,000 persons on the average will have starved to death or died from malnutrition. So it goes. In addition, 123,000 persons will die for other reasons. So it goes. This leaves a net gain of about 191,000 each day in the world. The Population Reference Bureau predicts that the world's total population will double to 7 billion before the year 2000. "I suppose they will all want dignity," I said. "I suppose," said O'Hare.